This is WAW. What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Hi, Eugene Khoza here again with this week's edition of WOW What a Week PoliTricks. The previous editions seemed to go quite well. I had a great time, and since I haven't received any mysterious late night phone calls or had my break cut, I'm fine. I figured I'd return. So, welcome back to WOW What a Week, the PoliTricks with Botsang Moiloa and me, Eugene Khoza. Hey, Botsang.
Hey, brother.
I've been getting fan mail from women who love politics because I'm hanging out with you.
Stay away from trouble, okay?
Yeah, especially if they wear berets. Ne?
I don't know. I didn't say that. but if it's fan males and it's women and youth who love politics because of this show,
yes,
I will not be surprised. It happened so much between me and Fresh.
Yes.
And that people who say, especially single black women who are never interested in politics.
Yeah.
And who have said, you know what, I never paid attention to politics until I watch your show with Fresh. And it doesn't surprise me. But welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
The feedback has been very positive and good.
Thank you.
And I'm happy for that.
Thank you. So what's been going on this week?
Yeah, bro, a lot is happening globally. But you know, the race horses are out on the field regarding the elections. So let's look at the political parties, starting with the ruling African National Congress. You know, they are now on a campaign, the door-to-door, the knocking. I've seen President Ramaphosa doing the usual of the African National Congress, going to squatter camps, to RDP houses, to poor communities, sitting down and having coffee or conversations.
Watching TV.
With watching that box TV that my grandmother had, the one you play it with battery. But I've picked up a little bit of disturbing factors and what I call cheap politicking and disappointing from the ANC and its leader, Mr. Ramaphosa.
Right.
For example, in one instance, he was sitting in a house with an elderly person.
Right.
The television didn't show the face of the person, obviously, for protecting the identity of the person. But Mr. Ramaphosa was saying to that person, you don't have problem. You have problems with electricity. You have problem with sewage and services, municipal services,
basic municipal services.
And the head of state, after hearing the problems of this particular South African noble citizen, went and said to this citizen, him in his youth days, when he didn't have money to go to university, he went to 100 companies in Johannesburg knocking at their doors, looking for a bursary or funding to go to school. So this particular person must also get off their laurels and comfort zone.
No way.
And go and sit outside the municipal offices of the councillor and protest.
And beg them to do their job.
No, and protest and sleep there. Even the president went to an extent of saying this person must even sleep there and launch a protest. And I'm like, but Mr. President, you are the #1 citizen. You can pick up the call and call the mayor or the councillor. And make it happen. Why should a person and an elderly person protest and sleep out in the cold to get basic human rights services like water, like sewage moving, like electricity in their houses?
Are you surprised though?
Well, I never thought it would go to this extent. The ANC has always went. I mean, for a head of state to go and say to a person must go and protest. And I was in some WhatsApp group with a lot of ANC people. And I said to them, why is the head of state not telling the truth? Well, in a WhatsApp group, I use a very strong word. Not telling the truth. He didn't go to 100 companies in Joburg. We were not in the same, but we know the history. He never challenged Terale Kota. When Terale Kota said...
Expose him.
Expose him in Parliament. He refuted the charges, but they never brought... You see, you can't say, no, I did not do that when somebody accuses you of something. You must bring proof of what you did.
You did not do it.
You understand? You must provide...
The burden of proof is on the accused.
Exactly, you understand? So for him to say he knocked at 100, he identified 100 companies, when we know that the Oppenheimers funded his studies of law at University of the Tafelberg. I mean, it's not a secret. He was given the bursary by the Oppenheimers. Is he saying to us he knocked at 100 and the Oppenheimers were number 100 on the list? I mean, you can't at this state, looking into the social being of South African, start talking about people protesting. When you are government, you are saying to people must come and protest against instead of you doing the right thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Do you think black people staying in poverty benefits the ANC?
Well, it's a political project, and it happens in many third world countries or the so-called third world countries, that the more you keep people poor and dependent on you, like with social grants, NEFSAS, why NEFSAS for education, not free education?
Wow.
You understand?
I got you.
I've done calculations, Eugene, and I've said it to Fresh and the followers before. It cost us 44 million to have one minister. One minister.
44 million.
The annum. 44 million, one minister.
It's the same as what the ABSA CEO is earning.
If we cut it by half, the cabinet, imagine what can we do with almost 44 million. That's number one. Number two, when you look at government administration, you look at what the government spends on running the NEFSAS office, that agency of the Department of Higher Education,
right?
The CEO, the executives, the drivers.
It's a private entity.
It's not a private entity. It's a state. It's a state-owned entity.
But it falls within the.
It falls within higher education. Yes.
Okay.
The cost of running that entity plus the fees that they disburse to students. If you combine all that, we can afford free higher education.
No way.
We can. Go and do the math. And I've said it in public platform and nobody has come to say I'm lying or challenge me on that. The cost of running NEFSAS, the middle person between the students, why is this money not disbursed to tertiary institutions according to the demand and the population demographics? They must not just give them equally. According to the demand and the population demographics. And then the students must go and register directly for free higher education as the African National Congress promised in 1994 and subsequent years after. But moving forward from the ANC...
No, we can't move forward just yet.
Okay.
Because the math is also not mathing here. Remember we had the Zondo Commission. Recommendations were made. We had a step-aside rule. The Integrity Commission sat down. People approached the Integrity Commission. Now, Kgalema Motlanthe just came out a couple of days ago saying that the people that were not found guilty and not indicted are still eligible to run. The list has come out. Yeah. First, let's deal with the people that they chose to field who have been accused from the Zondo Commission of malfeasance. And then later on, we can move to the leaked IEC gate.
Hey, Baba. Why do you want me to put Ntate Motlanthe in the spotlight? Mkulua.
Yeah, I'm Mkulua with that.
You know, I watched that whole media briefing.
Right.
And when, now you must know politics and diplomacy.
Yep.
And I always tell people, once I start addressing you as Sir, Mr. Sir, Honorable Mr. Sir, you must know that some level of bullshit is coming.
Right.
When Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, started saying the commission of the ANC electoral led by the former deputy president of the ANC, the former president of the Republic, the former secretary general, starting now to polish and decorate.
Right.
You know,
start with the accolades.
Yes, the accolades of Mkulua, of the former president and Ntate Motlanthe. I knew that they are putting me on a spotlight. Right. To say, you have been heading this commission, vis-a-vis being an elder of the ANC, most probably working hand in hand or sitting in the Veterans League.
Absolutely.
That has been very vocal about the step-aside rule. Now time has come for step-aside to be implemented. And he changed the language. First of all, they said the president and the deputy president who are implicated in the Zondo Commission, particularly the president. If you remember Brian Molefe, what he said about the ESCOM, the Zondo Commission in the war room, he was implicated.
He was.
They did not attend that NEC meeting in order to avoid conflict. That was their response. But secondly, the number of people who were there, from Gwede Mantashe and many others. Zizi Kodwa and so forth. They
said that his name is good enough.
Those who came and presented. Now, I said to some ANC friends and colleagues, you have an integrity committee of the ANC.
Right.
ANC members are implemented or alleged to have committed, criminal and corruption offenses. They go to their leaders and comrades to present their case.
Right.
Their leaders and comrades go to their other leaders and comrades who are the NEC to present their case.
Right.
So they're reporting to each other, clearing each other's name, and that's why they came to this decision. But this is very disappointing for the ANC. I don't have any beef with any particular individual. But when they applied this, I said to people, it was a tool by the Chuma Mina gang to fight the RET gang. That was a tool, and they used it effectively.
Please go deeper there.
I mean, look at what they did with the voted Secretary General Isma Khashule, who has been cleared. He was charged, he has been cleared. He was never found wrongdoing. The case has been struck off the roll at the moment. Immediately after he was removed from the position as the elected Secretary General.
Right.
Look at what happened to Supramahuma Pelo for bringing the organization into disrepute when he was the chairperson of the ANC in the Northwest and the premier. Remember when he wrote a letter to himself to remember that process and when he fired and he rehired so
Hey, our liberation
Pelo-
movement.
Supramahuma Pelo brought the ANC into disrepute. But what about others like Derek Hanekom, Pravin Gordhan, who have openly came out and said they connived and worked with the opposition, the EFF in this instance, against their own movement? They were never charged. They were never brought to book. It's okay when it's Derek Hanekom or Pravin Gordhan who come up and said, yeah, I voted against. You remember Pravin Gordhan on 2 occasions in Parliament voted against the chief whip's decision and the party position in the Jacob Zuma era, right or wrong. But and what happened to him?
Why does it seem like to the average South African and me sometimes that Pravin Gordhan is untouchable?
Let me remind you, when I was an analyst on ANN7, and this guy called me a Gupta analyst, Pravin Gordhan once said, in his words, I quote, I don't have time to attend these meetings, that meeting there. I'm a very important minister and I've got an important work to do, unlike other ministers. Close quotes.
He said that.
He said that. And for me, that was it. None of the ANC ministers came and said, yeah, Baba, we are all members
all
of the
equal,
executive.
yeah.
We're all members of the executive and we all belong to the ANC. I mean, there's so many things. Which branch of the ANC does Pravin? Have you ever seen him wearing an ANC or Communist Party t-shirt?
No.
Or campaigning or doing house to house like Ramaphosa is doing? Nothing. Animal farm. The ANC is an animal farm.
Some people are more equal than others.
Absolutely, my brother. So, but unfortunately, the list is out. And we see names that we didn't expect to see that due to their own policies, their own, not the national policies. But you know what? It's the internal squabbles of the ruling ANC. It is in trouble. It's being challenged in power very seriously this year than any other year before. And they may be strategic. Also, we must also look at the other side of the coin. Stepping these people aside may cause more divisions and harm to the organization.
Right.
Understand? They may pull out like they did with Zuma. Look at the damage they have done by taking Jacob Zuma to jail, by not protecting him, by not siding with him. It has damaged the organization, so maybe they are being careful.
Is there a fear that there might be a brain drain in the ANC if they let go of some of the people that have been mentioned in the
There
on the
is
commission?
that fear. Well, I wouldn't call it a brain drain, but a loss of support and credible people.
So that
Understand?
takes precedence.
Yeah, I think it's more personality. The ANC and many other former liberation movements in Africa, they've got a personality cult nature, whereby we look at a person, we look at Mandela, I always say, I've never been a charterist or a member of the ANC or follower, but I sometimes wonder, how did Mandela become more famous than Oliver Tambo, who was running between London, Lusaka, and all over the world campaigning for the ANC? How did Nelson Mandela become the chosen person while in prison by the Nazi government and international community over Walter Sisulu, who was senior to Mandela when they went to prison? You understand? So those are some of the things that I normally apply my mind to. And I've always asked a question, why did the National Party government elect to negotiate with Nelson Mandela in prison when the president and the leader of the African National Congress, Oliver Tambo, was moving between London and Lusaka? Why didn't they engage Tambo? Why Mandela? Why not Sisulu? Why not Mbeki?
It could be that Mandela had nowhere to go. I get it was in prison.
Sisulu, Mbeki, Aaron Motsoaledi, they were all in prison with him, the Rivonia 8 trialists. So they went to prison, 8 of them. But you know what? That's a topic we should discuss for another day.
Speaking of a topic for another day, let's leave that one. Let's get into this one. The IEC has fired one member so far that they've discovered Uguti, he was the one, or he or she logged onto their computer, distributed the list to people that they shouldn't have. Now we know what the candidate list was before time. What is your take on that?
Well, look, not a member, man. You are too much in politics. An employee.
Oh, I was a member. Well, unemployee.
Yeah, he's a member of the organization.
Member of the organization.
You see, you have people that is
It's your fault.
yeah, no. They have dismissed that employee, and you know what? First of all, thumbs up to the IEC. Number one for transparency and for a swift action.
That's it.
Less than 3 days they came up. This thing happened last week on a Friday. Over the weekend, they were briefing us on Monday and Tuesday. They had the results. On Wednesday, they had an action already. And they didn't stop there. They are saying they are continuing to investigate further to check what was the motive and the purpose, and if there were any other people, including agents that they are using outside to check what was the motive. But
I'm a conspiracy theorist again. Let's start there. What could have been the motive?
Look, I've been in the public service for too long and worked with various confidential government documents. One, it could be excitement, an employee who just got excited, and didn't put and apply his or her mind very well to say, this thing is very dangerous, than be popular amongst the friends and share that. It could be
that innocent?
Negligence, it could be.
Yeah.
But it could also be, and because if you look at it, it was the list of the only two political parties, MK and ANC.
Yes.
So it could be an influence or interference or by other political parties outsiders for their own interest. Remember the GA is a court and loggerheads with the ANC regarding their deployment committee.
Right.
And people have been watching the ANC, like we started the topic with their policy on step aside.
Yes.
So people have interest in the ANC list.
Right.
And it could be outsiders. With MK, I personally know that so many people have been having interest. We discussed it last week. Who will be in the MK list? Is Jacob Zuma going to be there? There's been speculations to say Zuma has created MK to accommodate his families and foes and friends, and you understand? There's been there. So people wanted to see who's on the list of MK. And very disappointing from me, from my side, from MK, for those who said I never criticize it. Very disappointing. The party
list of candidates? You're not happy with that? Not impressive?
80% Zulu people. 80%, about 60% of them from KZN.
Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, but it's very disappointing them being a national party. They should have divested. It's stronger in KZN, it's their stronghold. They are still walking on the same path that the Inkatha Freedom Party walked on from 1994. I had expected...
That's who they're going for, right?
Yeah. I had expected them to can take a different angle. You understand?
What I find weird is the IFP is still using the picture of the late Mntwana Pinda enter again, Mangosuthu Buthelezi on their campaign posters. There's one on the highway here over the just after Grayston.
Yes.
What's your take on that? Can you campaign posthumously?
Well, you can, Baba.
From the grave.
The ANC, not in their posters, in many, or not in their election posters, in many of their posters of events, they still use posters, pictures of Nelson Mandela or of the Rivonia trialist. I mean, they've used Oliver Tambo posters, many has until today. So it's okay. It's just that I think it's the way. Remember the Inkatha Freedom Party was founded as a cultural movement,
right?
Initially, right. So I think it is embedded in the culture of the organization to say he's a founding member. You understand?
So it's part of the legacy of.
I mean, look at the PAC. How often do you see any other or know any other PAC leader or founded than Sobuki?
No.
You understand? When and it's so sad that I always tell people the longest political prisoner in the world was Jafta Kalabi Masemola, the PAC leader from Atteridgeville.
But no one knows him.
He served effectively 27 years and 4 months in Robben Island. Effectively, the only one. How many of our people know about that?
I didn't know about him.
You see.
So now, speaking of legacies in political parties, the Freedom Front, Peter Mulder, so far as I can remember, he's been the only president. So in 20 years' time, we'll see him also campaigning posthumously. But at this moment, he's busy trying to get black votes.
Be careful, that's my homeboy. And he's a martial artist. He's got a black belt in karate. So me and Peter Mulder, we get along well.
So now he's campaigning for black votes. I think he's got your vote because you're homeboy.
No. Okay, I've said it on this platform that come local elections,
yes,
I will vote Freedom Front Plus. I will not be voting with my heart.
Yes.
I'll be voting with my mind. my head.
Whoa.
Because of service delivery, not because
That's
of
all you
their
want.
policies.
Right.
Across the Freedom Front Plus, councillor where I reside, I can call him in the middle of the night and they act, they cut streets, they fix bulbs, they are hands on, the same as with the DA guy in my ward, you understand? But look, our politics are maturing. Last week we spoke about how Julius Malema said they must include white people in the party list. This week we are talking about how Mr. Mulder says they want black people to join, not only to vote for the Freedom Front Plus,
but to
join the Freedom Front Plus as long as they abide to the policies. It's the same as...
Which is what, wearing khakis?
No, man. Where's the director of the show? No, man. Look. The Freedom Front Plus was founded in the, typical Verkrante Afrikaner culture. They want to preserve the culture of the Afrikaners in South Africa. And so far they've done successfully. Do you know that they are the only or the fastest growing political party that is participating in elections? I'm not talking about the new party that is going to participate now. I'm talking about what has been happening since the last 3 elections.
Really?
Freedom Front Plus has been the fastest growing. It's number 5 in the country.
Speaking of new parties that might grow, I know we're not speaking about that, I just felt like saying that. Tell me about BOSA. They are lamenting the decision of Action SA to put A-list graduates. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, bro, it's the choice. Why are they lamenting? The Action SA has put creme de la creme of South African administrators in their list, not politicians.
Right.
They went for people with qualifications. They went for people with credibility as well. People who don't have scandals and all that. And if they chose to get, I know Sarah has done that. Bosa could have done that. And I've said before, I don't understand the battle of the turf between Action SA of Herman Mashaba and Bosa of Maimani. They are both blue-eyed boys of the DA.
Hey, they are here.
Yeah, they are products of the DA.
Hey.
They are both a center-right party.
Yes.
And even their policies, they talk the same language, they come from the same political background, they think alike. Why can't these two people get into one room? Look, it's power, bro. It's everybody wanting to be in power. You understand? I don't see any policy difference between Bosa and Action SA. But Bosa did not only lament on Action. I mean, why do you lament on another party's list of prime candidates? Their main lament, which I agree with Musi Maimani on. Me and Musi, we are agreeing a lot this year, and I'm getting worried now myself. I'm getting worried. One of the things is the lament about the fees that new parties as well as independent candidates have to part with in order to partake in elections. It is too much. You must remember the parties that are already in government, they've got concessions from government.
Right.
You understand? But
there is a budget, there is fund allocation.
And last week, me and you, we spoke about, the percentages that independent candidates will get and they must get and things like that. Né? Now, when it comes to allocation of money, you paint everybody with the same paintbrush. You understand? You don't give them concessions preferably done or comparatively better than the political parties. So in other ways, let me use an example so that our viewers and followers can understand.
Yes.
You are saying these people, they need 50,000 plus minus votes to can get a seat in parliament. If they get 89,000, like I said last week, they will lose the 39,000.
Right.
Okay? In allocating funds to them, you allocate equally. You are not saying, but these ones, because I'm cheating them or restricting them of their votes, therefore with money I will give them a leverage. You are not doing that. And I think Musi Maimani is right in that, instance. Yeah, I think he's got a point on.
Are we sitting here with a cabinet that will consist of people that are disgruntled from the DA and obviously the ANC? That's what we're going to see. The EFF is a child of the ANC. MK is a child of the ANC. And Ngapa Bosa and Action SA are children of the DA. And in Ngapa we've got their grandfather, Matrix Steenhuisen, going to the US and telling our Ndabas and saying that he's worried about the elections not being free and fair and that we need monitoring from the US. And you and I know very well that wherever the US interferes, nothing ends well. And I was glad to hear from the US representative this morning on radio that they will not be interfering.
Yeah. Look, to answer and to comment on your first question, are we going to a cabinet or a parliament? Let me say a parliament.
Parliament.
We don't know how the
cabinet
cabinet will
okay.
looks like.
Good.
We understand.
Got you.
Yes, we are going to spaghetti and meatballs kind of cabinet. That's what we are going. No, for those who don't know, when we grew up at boarding school, the best tin stuff was not the tin fish. It was that one which has meatballs and spaghetti inside. So we are going to a cabinet where there will be spaghetti and meatballs all over in that. And unfortunately, that's what we are facing. But I think it's part of a maturing democracy. We are maturing. What is happening in metros? What is happening in provinces, which is a little bit stable?
Except for Ekurhuleni.
No, the province. Yeah, no, Ekurhuleni shame. No, all the metros shame. But we are going into a multi-party national government.
Is that what we need, Botsang?
Bro, we don't have a choice. You only have one choice, to vote for one party to get majority, and it is not going to happen. Our votes are going to be fragmented. It is going to mature us politically, but it's going to destabilize the country. What I like about a multi-party democracy, where there's no outright winner with 2/3 majority, like the ANC is abusing its majority in parliament at the moment, is that they cannot abuse it easily. They'll be watched by those who are going in coalition with them. That is the advantage of having a multi-party system. There's nothing wrong with it. What is important is what Deputy President Paul Mashatile embarked on late last year, to have a policy that governs coalitions. If the country can adopt a bill, an act of parliament, either in the electoral...
That's what Paul Mashatile said.
No. He embarked on that process.
Oh, he embarked on the process. Okay.
Political parties to come and draft a document, a white paper on coalitions. We need that, you understand?
What's the opposite of a white paper?
Sorry?
What's the opposite of a white paper? I hear this term all the time.
Okay, a white paper is the infancy one. In government, we use the word white paper. It's when it's a draft, somebody comes and present, researchers. It's a white paper, it's under discussion. Okay. Then once it becomes adopted, it becomes a bill. Then it will go and become signed by the president to become an act. Once it's an act and it's being used, it's called a blue paper. And a blue paper is one that has been used, tested, and it can be shared with other countries.
That's amazing. Okay.
And so that's there. For example, when we had the HIV/AIDS, in the 80s and 90s in the world, Brazil came with a blue paper on what you call the ARVs. Yes. Brazil came out with a blue paper, which got them into trouble. But nonetheless, so it's a white paper at the moment because it's under discussion. Don't think white people. The paper is white.
Yeah, I could never know. I know you like Peter Mulder.
My comrades will get worried that I don't have anything against Peter.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but that's where we are at the moment with these political parties in the country, and the campaigns are on. We hear all different stories every day, but we are going to be watching them. I was talking to Fresh during the course of this week. We will start inviting them to this platform. Yeah. With a very, very nice sieve. We're going to sieve them, you understand? But we'll hear from them. Yeah. By the way, 10 weeks to go, 10 weeks to national election. And let me tell you something that happened this week, which is not on our program today, but it's important to mention it. Yes. On Tuesday night, Cabinet had a hybrid meeting. Now listen to this.
What makes it hybrid?
Online.
Okay. I thought maybe it was one of those hybrid meetings. There's robots and humans together.
Yes, there's robots and humans.
Oh, if it was being Zoom.
And human beings and Zoom. You are correct. IR4. IR4. So there was a hybrid meeting on Tuesday night of Parliament or National Assembly. Yes. One, it was at night.
Tuesday.
Tuesday night. Two, it was hybrid.
Yes.
Guess what to adopt?
To adopt what?
An amendment bill on the Electoral Act. To now...
An amendment bill on the Electoral Act 10 weeks before...
10 weeks before the elections.
The 7th national elections.
And guess which parts are they amending there?
Tell me.
The declaration of donors to political parties. No. I'm telling you, you were sleeping, the country was sleeping, and they went and they adopted that. They went and they adopted
in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Well, it was
under our noses.
Gazetted, and at the wrong time, and people never paid attention. Now the proposal in front of the President of the Republic is that the current limit is 100,000, the minimum is 100,000. If you get 100,000 and up, you must declare it, who donated.
Yes.
And then the maximum is 15 million. Okay?
Yes.
Now the proposal is it must be increased to 200 million. And guess who has to sign that off?
The same president.
The same president who sealed his bank records
Till today.
for his campaign to a political office. Well, it is his duty and responsibility to can sign off that bill, no doubt about
Yes.
it. But again, this is the person 10 weeks before the administration change, 10 weeks before the election, with a questionable credibility regarding declaration of interest as well as monies for the political campaign.
All these critics
and
right.
you are placing that in front, and you are increasing it to 20 million.
200.
I mean, 200 million, understand? And that's the challenge. But they added something there as well, which is of interest to us as citizens. They now have passed
No, man.
on the bill that the president, between now and elections, 10 weeks, they must do a lifestyle audit of the executive authority. Yes, it's the law now.
That they must do.
They must do it now. A lifestyle audit of ministers. It was passed this week. The president must do it now. 10 weeks before the administration goes, these people are left with 10 weeks in office. They must start picking their files and bags.
Yes.
You want to do a lifestyle audit on
Now.
them. Now.
When they're about to leave.
And you do a lifestyle audit against the Zondo Commission, against your own party list that went and said, you know, they can ignore the Zondo Commission. We're keeping them on the list. They're not yet guilty. The DA and its foes and friends, the normal, the usual team, Inkatha Freedom Party, Freedom Front Plus, UDM, they oppose that. But now they must go and do lifestyle audit on cabinet ministers to check if the money they are earning, does it suit the lifestyle they are living. Now, what I'm sitting here and thinking, what if they are found wanting? You know how it takes long to can arrive at that point, and they'll already be out of office. What would happen?
Nothing.
This is the same cabinet that the President of the Republic last month, last month, refused to issue their performance or to release to public their performance appraisals to say they are confidential. Now, one thing that I thought I must tell you, Eugene, because you like Lenny. All but 4 cabinet members, cabinet members are elected by us.
All but 4
Yes, only 4 members of the cabinet
are elected by us, the citizens.
are chosen by the president. Only 4.
Only
They don't
4.
have to
Yes,
be.
yes.
They don't have to be MPs. Sorry, let me correct myself. They don't have to be MPs. The rest, they must be MPs who are voted to Parliament from the party list by citizens. You refuse those people us access to their performance, how they perform, their
Yes.
performance agreement,
The people that
their
put them there.
the review process, and the appraisal process. You refuse us access. A month after refusing us access, Mr. Ramaphosa comes and says, and his cabinet, and the parliament, they come and they say, we're going to do lifestyle audit on these people. You understand that is juncture in this whole thing.
The hypocrisy.
It's hypocrisy. We hired these people. We appointed them to be cabinet men, except the 4 that the president uses his discretion. So that's the challenge we are faced with in government. But yeah, unfortunately, the president looks like he doesn't have his chains and ropes very tight in his hands towards the elections. And there's a whole lot of panic.
Okay, here's a story that I know you'll be interested in. The Public Service Commission and AG on payments to service providers by government.
Oh, SMMEs, people, yeah, bro. Again, thumbs up to, look, the Auditor General of the country came up with a report in auditing government departments, municipalities, and provincial governments as well, from top to bottom, and say they are found wanting. Remember, the country passed a law 2 or 3 years back, or just before lockdown,
right.
and it was affirmed after lockdown because a lot of small businesses suffered a lot during lockdown.
Yes.
To say invoices of people doing business with the government must be honored within 30 days.
Within 30 days.
Within 30
'cause we saw the
days.
effects of it.
You understand? And especially the SMMEs. especially those that the government helped to fund, to incubate, to promote, so that they shouldn't collapse and they are being seen as failures. The AG came back with their reports of 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, even the 2023, 2024 financial report. For the last 3 financial years, the AG has been saying government departments and municipalities are not honoring that directive.
So to be exact, 40 out of 40, only 15 are compliant.
Yeah, imagine. Now, the Public Service Commission, correctly so, and thumbs up to them in this instance, they've come up and said, as a Chapter 9 institution, they are going to approach other authorities like the Treasury, like the Public Protector, in defense of service providers, that are not being honored and paid timelessly, because businesses collapse, families suffer, business go bankrupt, and all those challenges that are happening, in the business sector. And I think it is not fair on small businesses, particularly if you look at small businesses in South Africa are owned by black people.
Yeah.
Understand? The small business, we spoke about it last week, like countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and all that, they're thriving due to small businesses. And we are not taking care of our small businesses. And if the government that has created a small business ministry or department funding billions of rands into developing small businesses are failing simple basic things to honor. But let me tell you where is it happening. It's corruption. People want kickbacks to process your invoice. Your invoice. And they've created in the minds of service providers that when your invoice is honored timelessly, especially when they have delivered, it's a favor. It's not a favor. We as public servants, we are supposed to do that duty, render that service to the people because they've rendered a service to us. If I pay you for rendering a service correctly to me, then it's not a favor. And someone asked an important question. What if there are changes in management like HODs and DGs?
Yes.
And also challenges in a sense that maybe that contract or work was not awarded procedurally.
Yes.
All I'm saying is if the work is done, pay the service provider. If there was illicit and wrongdoing, conduct a proper investigation and follow the prescribed rules and regulations how to recoup those monies from those companies. You can't punish people blanketly and say, what if there was something wrong? This thing also of instability and changing municipal managers, MMCs of finance and all that. When the new one comes and says, I'm not paying this thing, I was not there. That's not how public administration should work.
Okay.
When you take over an office, you inherit the entire office with the wrongs and the rights. You can't come and say, I didn't sign this tender when it was issued a year ago, I was not there. You are there now. The responsibility lies on you. I don't say break the rules. Follow the prescribed processes and honor the payments to the service providers.
Basically, do your job.
Do your job.
Okay, here we are. We are about to wrap up. Just in 1 minute, please tell the voters out there at home, potential voters as well, what they should be looking out for in their parties as they go door-to-door campaigning, because we are 10 weeks before the national elections. What are the 3 things that we should look out for that we'll be like, hey, these are red flags? Yeah.
Red flags, food parcels.
Even your homeboy was giving food parcels.
Everybody give food parcels. But you know what I like about black people now and potential voters, especially young ones? They are saying we will take food from Botsang and vote Eugene. Yes. So people are becoming awake now, you understand, to say, these food parcels are not. We will take them because we are hungry, because we need them. And by the way, political parties have improved on their food parcels. They
added domestos now.
It's no longer a plate of food. It's no longer a plate of food. I've seen food bags with vegetables, a bag of mixed vegetables, no longer a plate and a T-shirt. And I've seen the quality of the T-shirts has improved. You can wipe car tires very nicely. But that's the food part. But the other thing also is, this thing of us voting emotionally and by the color of our skin and historically is not going to work for us anymore. People must wake up, the youth must wake up, the people must stand up, go and vote for what you think is right for the country. And that's what we should do. But it's just that we are pressed with time, because I was going to talk about the DA writing to the US on our geopolitics.
Please, let's go ahead. You remember, this is one thing, ne? I don't know SABC more. We do what we like.
We own the platform.
We own the platform. That's what I tell us. We're not running out of anything.
And nobody's going to pay a license to get listen to us.
They must just tune in.
Yeah, look, from geopolitics and internationally, I don't know whether I should say I'm disappointed with the DA or I am pissed off with it as a citizen of this country, not as a political analyst.
As a citizen.
In the last 3 months, the DA has conducted itself internationally as if they're in government or in power.
Wow.
And unconstitutionally as well.
Wow.
You remember the first thing they did, they went to address the Congress there with regard to Lady R, the ship. And citing on the side of the American ambassador who embarrassed himself in the United States.
Yes.
The second part, they went there as recent as this week or wrote to the U.S. to ask them to intervene and become observers. Now the DA...
Lest we forget, he also flew to Ukraine on an observer mission.
On observer mission, yes. Understand? So Steenhuisen is failing to address the issues of Gugule Tulanga and Khayelitsha.
just here.
And just there, and they fly to the U.S. But let me tell you, why is it wrong diplomatically?
Yes.
To write to the U.S. They're a provincial government. They have nothing to do with foreign policy of the country. They should have at least respected Derrico and suggested that to Derrico engage. And why the U.S.? You understand? Why the U.S.? This is the country that the DA itself supported them in arming Israel to kill the children of Palestine. The DA supported America to continue arming Israel. They say they are against killing and murders and the war, but they still want America to arm Israel. This is the political party, the Democratic Alliance, that disrespects the constitution of this country when it comes to the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act of South Africa makes provision for the South African government, especially the IEC as an independent body, to invite observers. And it has been happening since 1994. And observers are naturally, and as a matter of practice, international organization, like the Southern African Development Community, SADC, the African Union. It could be the members of the Commonwealth, or because we are a member of the Commonwealth.
To come and observe.
To come and observe. It has been happening.
That has been happening.
Understand? Why would the DA want to invite an independent country or that we have bilateral relations that are strained? This is the DA that once wrote to the U.S. as late last year to say they must remove South Africa as a benefactor of the AGOA agreement. The same DA. And they want the USA as an imperialist to control us by remote control, because that's what America is doing. They've done it in Haiti, they've done it in Venezuela, they've done it in Zimbabwe, they've done it in many countries whereby they interfere
with the government
with the government of the day, and it's part of their regime change plan. Understand?
What's happening in Haiti is very interesting right now, because Ariel Henry has just resigned as prime minister, but also he was not voted in. He only came in 30 months ago after the previous prime minister who was elected was assassinated by gangs at his house. But now we see, as he left to go to Kenya to get reinforcements, first of all, I did not know that Kenya was in any position to defend anybody. The only thing that I knew they could defend was their marathon marathon championships. But I did not know that at some point they'll be called to help on international peacekeeping missions. But as Ariel Henry left and went to Kenya to go ask for help from the police, not from the army of Kenya, the gangs took over, closed the airport, and he couldn't come back in. And the man in charge, nicknamed Baba Q, don't ask me, Baba Q, he's right in there controlling the country right now, and that's where the spotlight is at. And that's another sign of U.S. interference.
Whatever the United States of America charges turns into absolute rubbish. The situation in Gaza, before we go to Haiti now, it's because of the U.S. And last week, the same United States that the DA want us to invite them to South Africa to become observers, they said they are now ready to go and fix Gaza. They want to build bridges.
The same U.S.
The same U.S. And who gave Israel? And I've said it last year, that's how America makes money economically, through the army. Understand? They go and destroy the place and bomb it. This is how they boost the economy. It's based on military. Then after that, they take the American companies to go and rebuild that country. We have seen it in Iraq. We're seeing it in Libya. We have seen it in Afghanistan. We have seen it in Yemen and everywhere.
Now we're seeing
now we are seeing it in Gaza. They want to go and build a port so that ships and cargo that are going to bring food for humanitarian aid can access. Where will that food come from? From the U.S. The food will be coming from the U.S. using U.S. cargo ships and military ships, using the U.S. built a port and bridges. Now they they've interfered in Haiti a lot. And look, the interference of the USA in Haiti politics since the time of President Aristide, who was exiled in South Africa, if you recall, and hosted by President Mbeki for a very long time. The funny thing about the current, Prime Minister, who he didn't resign first, or it was not a coup. He first disappeared since he went to Kenya, and nobody knew for days where he was.
Yes,
but you know why Kenya? Kenya is one of the puppet countries of the US, except that the current leader of Kenya, he has rebelled against the US.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And that's why the outgoing or the now resigned, unseated Prime Minister of Haiti opted to go to President Guto of Kenya because President Guto of Kenya has become hostile towards American imperialism. So it was brother to brother, comrade to comrade, the same as President Aristide did by coming to talk to his friend and brother, President Mbeki. It's the same situation. The president of Kenya is not a typical old school president like they used to control Kenya all the years. Right. But this has caused a lot of instability in Haiti. And I don't know whether it's drug gangs or it's criminals.
Over 67 gangs
you understand?
exist in Haiti, they outnumber the police.
Yeah. Look.
And Barbecue himself used to be a policeman.
But in order to be a criminal, you know, they all say, you must use a same dog to hunt another dog. You must use a criminal to hunt other criminals. They know the job better. You understand? So what is happening there in the Caribbean island? And you know, it's so sad with Haiti because despite political instability, Haiti has suffered a lot of natural disasters.
Yes, over 300 people died in the hurricane.
In the hurricane, you understand? So unfortunately, now we are having gangsters and drug lords and criminals and running a whole country and a sad state of affairs. But again, it was also due to the American interference. They will arm, equip, and fund anybody under the sun who they want them to remove the ones they don't like in power. While they are sitting with their own problems now, For our viewers, in conclusion, talking about geopolitics and the American politics, again, gloves are off in the US. It's official now. Trump against Biden. I don't know if Americans' people minds work very well. You still want to put Biden to contest Trump. Trump is going to trap him. Honestly, no. I mean, they're going to talk or walk.
Yeah.
And they just put the Democrats. Trust me, I'm saying it now. Come the American elections, Trump is going to trap Biden unless they put Trump in jail for all these pending criminal cases. But I was very shocked that the Democrats, they still wanted Biden to be, or Biden to be their presidential candidate. But
I'm not surprised.
Gloves are off. It's game on now.
This has been an interesting episode. I can't wait to talk to you again, hopefully soon. My interest now is the legacy of Thabo Mbeki. I found that man so interesting over so long. I would like to hear your opinions of him one day, not today.
Coincidentally, we'll talk about it. Yesterday, I'm alumni of the Thabo Mbeki School of Public Administration. I'm a graduate. So there was a workshop that we entered with him and discussion, and then we can talk about it in future. Yeah,
one day is one day. We've been coming to you live from the M Studios, part of the Africa Podcast Networks, and thanks to Pezulu Works for the cinematography, our audio engineer Otis the Flow Fraser, the PoliTricks person Botsang Moiloa, and our creative producer Kuvesh Muhan. The show producer Keleto Mudisa Keng, the only surname I get right all the time. And you can email us on this show at WAW, W-A-W, at africapodcastnetwork.com. It's been real. Thank you so much. Botsang, I feel smarter.
Thanks, my brother.
As usual.
All my pleasure, as long as you are happy and the followers and the viewers are happy.
And you know what they say? All countries are run by gangsters. Some of them carry machine guns, some of them wear ties.
Ours is rather which one? Machine guns?
Yeah.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you, Botsang.
This is... Wow! What a week.